Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where we teach you all about painting miniatures from start to finish and everything in between. And this is going to be part 20, the basics of painting cloak trim. So basically today I'm just going to show you how to paint the lines of cloak trim, the straight lines that typically appear on Eldar cloaks and a bunch of other cloaks using a Wraith Lord. But first, let me give you some tips. First of all, as always, whenever doing freehand, thin down your paints. Use thin paints, that way they go nicely, but not too watery, of course. Number 2 requires steady hands, so prop up your elbows if you have them. Keep the model close to you if it leads to a more steady hand. Number 3, you want to create a line slightly wider than the point of the brush. And the reason is because that way you can create your base skeleton line and then extend in either direction just to keep it clean if you want. Finally, you want to use multiple colors. You want to use a darker color first and then a lighter color. That way you have some shadowing in the recesses. And finally, bend it accordingly. You want to bend it according to the grooves of the cloak, right? You bend it accordingly and you can create the nice waves if you wish. So now we're going to be painting this Wraith Lord using these techniques. Tips. By the way, it's going to be a lot of fun today. We'll just paint some basic lines, then we'll add to it in future videos by doing a little bit of detail as well in the future. So we'll start off with Techless Blue. So I'm going to be doing a blue line across the cloak. So I'll be just taking my brush, starting at the very far left, because I paint easier from left to right. It's just how I paint whichever way is more comfortable for you. So I'll start at the very left and just start making my line and be very careful with nice steady strokes and a steady hand. Now the key is to know how it bends, and you can basically bend the line accordingly, but I just typically just do is follow the line downwards and then move my way upwards. Now if you end up in a situation where the line changes kind of direction, that's kind of okay with these cloaks. I try to keep it straight as possible, but you can see that the bends interact with how we perceive the line. So if you end up with a line that's slightly, not perfectly straight, it's actually okay, and it just looks like it's being bent by the cloak, which is moving and so forth. So I'm just going to drag it across entirely, and we'll repeat this process one more time, a little bit upwards again, once again starting at the very top, left side, and then going straight across. As you can see, it bends slightly, but it is a straight line, and then I intentionally like to fill it out just slightly from the skeleton, so that way if I end up making a little bit sharp of a movement, you can correct it and clean it up a little bit afterwards. So once again, start at the very left and work my way towards it. And as you can see, this particular part of the cloak has a different set of bends than the one downwards. So I'm just going to follow it accordingly, go downwards and upwards, and work my way towards the right with a nice, quick, easy motion. As I said, I paint easier from left to right, so that's how I'm going to be painting today. Then I'm just going to go clean it up just slightly with this Techless Blue. Just fill it out just a little bit once again, just to clean it up. And that's it. So now we got our 2 base lines down. But as I said, the key is when painting, what a lot of people don't mention when they're painting cloak trim lines is add another color. Always do 2 colors. So if I was doing a white, I'd do a light gray and then a white, leaving the darker color in the recesses. So now I'm going to use Lothern Blue, but Lothern Blue I'm going to do the same pattern as I did before, starting with the line, work my way across. But I'm going to stop about halfway down the drops and then start again halfway up the next rise in the cloak. That way the recesses are slightly darker and it does blend quite nicely because I'm using thin down paints. I thin down with some Lamium Medium for both these colors. And as I said, if I'm doing white, I'll just use a light gray, like a Administratum gray, or a 1-1 mix of Administratum gray and white, and then white is the highlight color. So just repeating this process on the top part, doing the top parts of the cloak, leaving the recesses the Techless Blue. And that's it essentially. So as I said, I thin down my paints, nice, crisp movements with the brush, and a nice steady line. And of course, I did 2 colors with a darker color and then a lighter color. And yeah, that's basically the theme. And as you can see, just follow the lines accordingly, bend your line accordingly, and in the end, it ends up with a nice straight line. And I always do a slightly thicker line than my brush stroke. That way I can clean it up accordingly. And in the end, you're left with this cloak pattern. And we're going to paint it a little more in future videos as well as add some symbols as well through it. This is going to be a building on cloak painting, but as you can see, it is nice and we've done the basics of painting cloaks. And that's it. So thank you as always for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101. I really hope you enjoyed it. This one particular episode was asked for by you. And as always, stay tuned for next week's episode, part 121, which is just around the corner. But if you don't want to wait for next week, check out The Warp. Click on the link below for a free 14-day trial to my premium YouTube channel, where not only you get to see the next 6 months worth of Miniature Painting 101 episodes for anything else, you'll get to see over 100 start-to-finish painting tutorials, battle reports, face-off episodes, and Airbrush 101 series, just some awesome wargaming content. So go ahead and check out The Warp. I think you'll love it. So stay tuned for more videos. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting, everyone.